Hindi mo much daw.
Yeah.
You have to turn that on.
Anibajo, everyone. It's Victoria from the Bagida'waad Alliance. I'm happy to be here again for the Anishinaabemowin language class with Ron and Janet, Dave, Rennie, Marie. Bill is also here, was one of our panelists. I saw Audrey.
It's a small one.
And Ron
Yeah.
and Janet. And we have a special night tonight because it's the Bagida'waad Alliance 4th anniversary. So our organization that is has been running these have been around for a whole 4 years. So we're celebrating that a little bit today, but it's also International Women's Day. So tonight we're going to be talking about that as well, and also talking about maple syrup, which is one of everyone's favorite things to talk about at this time of the year. So I'm going to hand it over to Ron.
Ron's not here. I'm back.
Here it is.
Oh. Who? Oh, bonjour. Muscut meisje, dus dan kan go makwa door een saging screening binjaba. Aha. Mi gwetch no pi bitige kon pi chibako gamek pi ndayan. Mi gwetch wen dan man daya. On pi much tamen magen de bitige magen no pi wikida manda. Begin now. Oh, was it you? No?
Okay. Well, for starters, we'll get going with the date. Zizbaktoke, Jesus, March. Schwasba, the 8th. Badoswak, Nishtana, Shanish, 2022. Schwaso Sabognang. Sabo, Lori was.
Subuganay.
Sabognang. What? Mudge Tommen. That's a new one. That's a different one this evening. But it's 8 o'clock. Well, it's after 8 now, so we should get started.
Don't forget me.
Als ben ik heel erg in school bombies.
When you come again.
Yeah.
Saging dan, di ba?
Yeah.
Kasi against daughter.
Well, as much as going on, maybe everyone welcome, or if they want to say something to it now, the time to say something. Well, Bill, you going to say something? He's been up with it. Give it a week.
Unmute. There, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
You can.
Oh.
Okay. I've been practicing head and shoulders, knees and toes. So
All right.
can I try that out?
Yeah.
Okay. Ostigwan, Odine, Magananan. Yeah. Ogidig. Wananan. Nin bina kwandan an. Que. Oh, gue. That means and, I think. And then finally, nin que onishishin. What's the song? Knees and toes, knees and toes.
You got to stand up and do that now.
Well, it's be very difficult to sing that in Ojibwe, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But I was trying to translate for My Fair Lady. So my is Neen, Que is lady, and Onishishin is not my good or nice or something like that. Nope.
Oh, Nishishin. What would that be? Nishishin.
Nishin.
Nishin.
Nishin. Good.
Nishin. Oh,
Nishin. Yeah,
that's what,
good.
yeah, that's what he say.
Nishin. Okay.
Good. Yeah. Aha.
Big watch, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy, what, Bill?
Mhm.
Jimmy, what?
I worked hard on that. So thank you.
Hey, we're gonna get you to sing that sometime.
Yes.
In English, sure.
I'll hand this one to you, Lori.
Okay. All right. Miigwech, Bill. Yep, that's good. That takes a lot of work to do that translating. I know sometimes we get words to or phrases to translate, and we have good discussion on that, trying to find the intent behind those discussions. So anyway, so one of the topics tonight is today, March 8th, is International Women's Day. So there's a few topics or a few items under this topic that we're going to do some sharing about. I was mentioning before we started that we have a program, youth program that has started at our youth center, and they created t-shirts today. And I didn't get a chance to get one. I was hoping to be able to wear one down, but they did a really good job. And the words and wordings on them were in the language. The artwork was by Emily Kugisheg. Oh, there's one. Jan's got one. Okay. So they asked for some wording. So I said, Anishinaabemowin Kwendao. So it says, I am an Anishinaabe woman. So this, I'm very proud of the work that the young folks are doing over there. And the money that they were making from the sales, they're donating to our women's shelter in the community. So it's nice that they're thinking about, the needs in the community. So Chumigwech to Bushkini that are working over that. So International Women's Day. Just so happens that 4 of us ladies here are part of the Saugeen Women's Hand Drum Group. So we'd like to offer a song. And we know in our teachings that the songs that we do are prayers. So we offer our prayer through song to all the Kwewak of the world. So we're going to offer our song. Okay. Song we're going to sing is Anishinaabemowin.
Just stand over there. Shall we come over to
No, come over here.
We'll come over to
Maiza. Maiza.
Stand up and honor your women. Ooh, very.
Oh, yeah. Where did they go?
Oh.
Away
Junior song, chicken. Mشكلة حقي.
Yeah. Well, that was Anishinaabemowin.
Miigwech. Kimnewing with the
Mm. Okay. Do you wanna start?
Yeah, okay. So we have this woman author, Ojibwe woman, Brenda J. Child, and she wrote this book. It's Holding Our World Together, Ojibwe Women and the Survival of Community. And just the title of it, I think, speaks to the women and the power and the backbone of the community. And I say that with pride and I don't know, it just feels good that she put this book together and she gave the historical meaning to what would have been before. The systems in place when the women, they were the ones that were in charge of ricing of the sugar bush. They had sections of land and it was all systematic and people knew what to expect. And there was economically, there was revenue. They provided food for the family. It was a real time that got disrupted with changes when development came. So people will still have that blood memory of what goes on, and people in the states, especially Minnesota area, those different reservations, they continue on with ricing and with with the production of maple syrup on a grand scale. And we're fortunate that oftentimes we can purchase what they make for rice. It's a treat around here. So I think that system holds true for our own community and the role of women that I've known personally, and speaking to my sister, Audrey, especially. She was in the community. She worked in the community as a health director. And at that time, our culture was just gaining momentum and strength, and people were finding their way. So I attribute that to Audrey sparking that life, that fanning that fire, that good life. So miigwech, sister. And I would go on. This woman right here is another one. She works hard in our community. Lori, she's had different positions in this community, but it's always people first. You can always count on her. Culture, language, just about everything. She's the advocacy for healing program. And that means a lot at Indian Day residential schools. More than that, it's working with the people that have come through. And we're at that age when there was day schools on this reserve, and yeah, so miigwech, Lori, for all you do. Same as Rennie, in the capacity of health director, acting health director right now. Such a strong woman. And she is a people person. She is honored in a way that if I was to have an emergency late at night and there was nobody else to call, I could call Rennie and I know she would enter her phone. It's like she's on the clock all the time. And we really appreciate what she does. Mig what's Rennie for everything that you do. Strong Ojibwe Kwa.
Mhm.
What about Rhonda?
Rhonda. Oh, I'm so glad to know Rhonda.
Doctor.
Yes, she's a doctor now. Oh, boy. I'm so proud of her. She's working in Chiging now at Kinchgowinteg. Yes.
Jean.
Oh, yes.
Jean Aquash.
Jean Aquash, another one. All these women who have impacted our lives and made the community a better place. They've touched so many people. So I should let somebody else, if you want to mention other people too.
No, you're doing good.
No, no, no.
Oh, you're doing good. You're fine.
Put some more butter on this. Yeah, most certainly. Kind of Robbie Orton, keep myself and piece of Mabu Basic Vera Martin, because in Majagi, I go. Mabu gonna, well, we said Jean Aquash.
Marie, she was on council
Marie,
for a long time.
Marie Mason,
Mhm.
and she was in council for a long time. She's still with us. Carol Solomon is another one.
Mhm.
Ruth, she's gone to the spirit world, but she was quite a leader. Harriet Thompson. What again? Rita Root, Anishinaabemowin, Bagida'waad, oh, Kinomage, Mabukwe. And
Midge, she
Midge.
teaches the kids in the
Oh,
school.
in the
uh,
school.
younger sister, she teaches the name Anishinaabemowin Gale, Teresa Gale. Não chego a quando eu sou como que eu não ando de que mal que não andamos nem é todo não vou dar base muito tonight não se nada que eu mal veste que mal não vou quando o hábito paga no hábito do quem when she algo que escolhe que eu costumo gostar de andar mas ser right beside her.
And your mother?
And your mom?
Yes.
Your
My
mom?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Your
Every
mom?
Sunday
yeah.
she'd have them soup after church. Even people from the church would stop by and have something to eat. Anybody walking by, stop and have something to eat and be on their way.
And did you notice the sky is clear tonight? Smoke mist is just
Come,
Yep.
there's been out there.
squish.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Meu, que nada.
There's more and
So
more.
many,
we could
there's so
say.
many.
Yes.
Go back, the grandmas.
Yeah.
Monday,
Mhm.
Kino, we a bunch of Maya.
That's the book I mentioned at the start.
No, we're going to read the story about the big drum.
Oh. The big drum. Well, what I can recall, and you can add to it if I forget something. But there was a time when there was conflict, war between nations. This was hard when people that had to come to another area because there was not enough food or game or fish, whatever they needed, that was no longer in their area, so they moved into another area. And of course, there would be conflict. Now, the story goes that there was a young Shkiniqua. She was out. She was collecting berries, and she was carrying a basket. And she was on her way back home when she heard all the shouting and the loud voices, and she could tell there was a chamigos going on. So she just dropped her basket of berries and went for cover. She tried to hide. So what she found was this little body of water where marshes grew. So she hid in there. And she, the reed is hollow. So she took that and she made it like something she could breathe through. But she had to submerge herself to hide. Now the story goes that she was there for 4 days and it was possibly even 7. So it seems that when people know that when you go fasting, you can do without food, you can do without water, because that's what you expect and that's what you're willing to sacrifice. So she stayed there as long as she could, and until that time when an actual vision came to her. And it was older people, you would say spirits, that came, and they knew she had a gift. So they gifted her with the way of the big drum. That's what it turned out to be, because there's a whole process to that. What you take, what you make of it, how it's made, what's put on it, how you dress it, what medicines you need. So when she returned back to her I would say just natural physical self, she left that spot and she went in the midst of where the fighting was still going on. And they stopped, and you know how you can tell when you're in the presence of somebody that is more spiritual than physical. So she told them, this is what you need to do. They stopped their fighting and they listened to her. And she showed them what she was told to, how to make this big drum. So they did that, the feasting that goes with it, and the songs, the beautiful songs that were gifted. So that was a woman's gift to people, for people, the gift to peace, for peace. And the big drum you see is a gift to the men. So as such, you always see men sitting around the drum, and then the women stand behind. And it's not that they're lesser or anything, it's because it was their gift to the men. So when they sing, they sound like the birds in the background. It's so beautiful. So I think when that woman gave the gift of peace through spirit, through creator, I think that's such a beautiful story. Oh, anyway.
No, je vais enlever ce qui est bien. Ich habe qui que non magie, was it's got my bunde te wagon. Me go you need 28 sides to it. That represents that cycle. That validates that story, what you just heard, that we honor that by making that hoop like that, and we round it. When you work with that drum, the hoop, suppose again, ma, when I said, baby's nest said me in a wing up here. The king, on Pishkoni, Pew that hide with the wind. We should just cover up. We should go in here, take on with it. Can on dog be can damn call. On people in a way in me, the can me to that. We just shum make peace for that drum. Make peace, mom, walk, honor them, respect that. Me want take me go me moto me go yo nick my coach no matko me go 28, and it tells that story. It takes 2 hours to tell that story. It's very strong. I got it from an old man. He comes sitting one night. He talked for 4 hours. He did look at it. Me, wash away book and piano. You got the king. You should got a bar done you. Schmidt got went down. You wonder the way the mother get a bar. Making maple syrup time now.
Ron, sorry, Marie wanted to be able to say something. Do you
Sure
mind
thing.
if, is that a good time before you move on? And I'll unmute you, Marie.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just want to honor all the women in our community that have worked hard and for what do we have today. And as my great grandmother, Margaret, she brought me into the world during the winter time, December 3rd. And in those days, the winters were very severe. Anyway, she brought me into the world. She was a midwife, and she was also a medicine woman. But there's a counselor I like to honor, is Kara. She taught me a lot while I was in council, and she was very gifted with all her wisdom. And I like to say Chimigwech to her. Chimigwech. And there's a blanket here I received from the 5th floor at the hospital in Onsam. And these women, they like the soul. And it's a warm blanket, it's a quilt. And there's
Oh, good on one.
fish on it. The one nurse wanted this one because she said, "Oh, there's fish on there." Because I guess she knows that our people like to fish and they like to eat fish. Anyway, it's very warm, and it's the sandpipers that donate this to the hospital for the cancer people that receive chemo and infusion. And they make it for them so they can be warm, because sometimes people when they're sick, very cold. So they make this, and they also make the hats because you lose your hair when we're on chemo. Anyway, I'd like to thank them because it is International Women's Day, and these women do this at the kindness of their heart. There's a lot of blankets there that for the people that go in there, and they're given out freely. And I'd like to say Chimigwech to the Sandpipers at Savo. That's who donates these blankets and the hats. But and another one I like to honor is this man who wanted me to have. She was from Algeria, and she was very, well, I can't say she was poor. She had a lot of heart. Anyway, she said she told her son that when she ever leaves Algeria, that he should give this scarf, her scarf, to a woman that would wear it. I have it. I have the scarf. He gave it to me, and she's from she's from Algeria, and she was a she's passed on quite a few years ago, I guess, but she wanted this, a woman, Indigenous woman, to have the scarf, and he gave it to me. So I'm very proud of that, you know, all the women in the world that have contributed to everything that we have today, like they did it selfishly. And, you know, sometimes it was very hard for them to, like, I really feel for the women in what's going on in the world today, because I knew a woman. She was in a concentration camp, and she used to show me the number on her. I think it was on her in her arm or somewhere where it was easily, it was visible. And during the Second World War, she was taken from her home and placed in a concentration camp. But she was never bitter about it. She was said, if you work hard, she said, they left you alone. That's all that she used to tell me. Her name was Mary Pucan, and she has grandchildren here. And we're very, you know, I feel very, I don't know what's going on in the world, especially in their country, where they're trying to have democracy and peace, you know. And I just hope that all people, even the opposite side, that they'll come to some agreement and not hurting more people and children, especially women and children. Miigwech. Okay, yeah.
Marie. Mhm. Want to see bakut, eh?
She's balked up there.
She's bakut there. She's bakut with toing. Over the tickle condor mom not tick is the cause. Oh, we're gonna. Jim. Jigging.
Soft maple.
Soft maple, yeah. Minani, Mondam, tick, no wobble. Yeah. Med det show. Mina skores, vi ska inte ta in mandam skore. Vinnas again. Bisgarsen. Kindling. Mina sun. Wood. Nagafkut. Mina wabla she ship kick no.
Segway kick.
Huh?
Segway kick.
Zegway kick. And we are now with the king. We things to the boil. Mina the wagon. Mandani spigots. Oh, how do you pronounce it?
Oshgagan.
Ja, men als ik op de top van je spigot. Made out of bark.
Is that what the word toboggan came from? The Shaganashio word toboggan, the big bucket.
No, I'll let you take over.
Oh, okay.
Sap collecting.
Okay, the sap collecting container. Ozobogan is what it says.
That's a one.
So would that be the birch bark baskets? Because Janet had a picture here. I don't know if they'll be able to.
Oh, yeah, it's not the
see
best
that.
picture.
Oh, yeah.
So the person that's sitting on the ground
There's Lori.
is Lori. Little Lori. No, just kidding. But I don't know if you can see, she has baskets around her and they're made of birch bark. I don't know if you can see that on there or not, but she's collecting sap, and what they've done are rather than the metal spigots that we see today, it's like a flat piece of bark. that's cut into the tree. And the sap would seep out through and down the that bark. And that's how they would collect it in those baskets. So according to this, it says a zobagan. And then to strain it through a cloth, the washkatun is what it's called, washkatun. Shabwasan, okay. And then once you have them in the big kettles, chimkikon, you have to stir the sap. And the ladles are called guabganan. Guabganan? Is that how you say that? Guabganan? Or they're stirring paddles, which are called nekwan. Ka. Oh, to keep stirring it. Oh, okay. See, all the words when you can understand, when somebody knows the understanding behind why something is called something. It's that's why we call it a living language, because every word there's an interpretation of what it's describing. So when Ron just talked about the stirring paddles, nekwan, is like the elbow, because you have to have that elbow moving in that stirring motion. Oh, get them, Dave. Shelter.
Shelter. It is that way too. Zagwan. Zagwan is the shelter where things are stored, or it could have been places we got hindayang, measurement ganagin on. That's where we would live in those dwellings also, the shelter of the lodge as families, or maybe one family or several. And Albakianzi, measurement give the Mojike or Gujabajayan, when he was Kiwi the Mox Yupkadekin, when you go fasting, when we make the fasting, our fasting lodges, and those little lodges, he says, if you travel someplace, he said, all you would need is some sabap and some of these young trees that are a group of trees, and you would bend those trees, and then you would tie them, and then you would have a shelter if you were traveling someplace. And after you were done with it, you would just untie them, and then the trees would just stand back up again. So that was one of the things he was telling me, that Wakianzi, he was so you never have to worry about anything. Everything's put out there for us, and he would create whatever that part is. So part of that, when we do a fasting lodge or a fasting little camp, you make that shelter when you would sit in there when you're fasting. You gave just got okay with that Zagan. Some might call that Todos one too, is the lodge. In that same way also. A prayer lodge, Namaka. So that was another one also. And then on that, this other one is the sleigh. The Bagida'waad. Bagida'waad is like a Mishomus. Mishomus, or Yishiton Meoshaban, and Yibashayang took aqua over the Yida the sun, wood to bring home. And he would make these sleighs. And so we would use that as a family. We'd go out and cut a few trees, and then we'd cut them in wood for our wood stove, and then we'd, as a family, make that little trail back and forth all day long. and to have that wood. But I also remember the Jaman Gaini as these family members or relatives. We'd go out and we'd cutting a whole bunch of trees, a bunch of wood, and we'd split all that wood up, and then a certain amount went to each household. You go again on Japan and it's always about that shelter or that we would prepare our wood earlier in the season, and it would dry so that you don't use fresh wood in your household because they'll plug up your chimney. You get that soot build up. So that's where your preparation would come in, and then you'd have your stacks of wood out in the bush, and then all you do is just go out and bring them in on the sleigh. The baga, how did you? Bagida'waad. And that's how we would bring wood, and it's seasoned wood at that time. And then and the time. Jita. Yeah. Jita. Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. So that Zita is like the way it's described in here is works, plays, Bataji Kewat, Abinochia, and Peshama Basha, Bataji Kewat, you get on to Gewat, Ejigewat, not gonna go, you get out in the Kibji Gewat, Skik. What did you call me to say? One to get what you want to kill me go Pinomagas, what can I with Binoji? Not up. So that's part of that Zita, that everything is in time when you're working through each season. Each season has a role, I guess, in a way, of how we're going to do things. It's like right now, it's winter time. It's like story time at that time. And then you got your spring, and it's everything's skei, new season. We got to start working with that new season also. I mean, just then you come summertime, and then again to that time as we're preparing for the next season we're going to go into. And it's always in a rotation all the time, rotation of everything that we're doing. And it's always preparing. The lights go dim for something. So it's always good. Today, Kishman Benoji at and with the way and among with how we think today, sometimes be gods Benoji. And so they get in trouble themselves, and they say, we'll play out somewhere else. When that used to happen to us, go to well, while the parents or visitors were talking, then they would do that. And so one of the things that was shared to me before was that Tajike Wata Benojik, and then these people are visiting. So that maybe there's too much sharing that's already happening, or whatever that is. There's something going on, and then that little one's preventing that serious talk or whatever that talk is all about. So nothing is really shared at that time. So those Benojians, they don't realize that themselves, but they're maybe their spirit does. It's always about our spirit. Or Payama Menedo. And then, you game on the man, the man, let me show,
Yeah, but
Kiang, but, Kiang, what of the everything quantity. Oh, Mario, yeah.
mhm,
Zizbak, I think.
yeah,
Zizbak, they could, yeah.
I'll wash the guy.
I'll wash again. And then the weather warms up in the sunshine. So that's at Husky, is that what you said?
I'll wash the guy.
Husky. You go game on the old. Yeah.
Cold and warm.
It gets warm. Oh, okay. You go Monday, you when it's me, but then go you Zizbak. The buck wobble. The buck wobble.
To do that would take. You can get a small container boiled down in one day, eh?
Well, 40 gallons will get you 1 quart
But it takes about a day or more.
a day, yeah, both half a day.
And if you got the heat too high, then you gotta start all over again.
Yeah.
Does it get burnt? No.
Mr. Kastiga open, yeah. They pulled us out of the school. Oh, the traction. Imagine woman. Michigan it along here. Maple syrup. Yeah, she's bought close. Get it done. Corn and Bagida'waad, mommy Jenny, right? Coffee.
Mm,
Me got no mango young in the king. Suddenly, yeah, when I walked to toy him, you skin at the you should have shown the commie got in that sap. You got up on young maple tree. You can mango. The game on the yours is an arm to God, but even thick is it quack. Like as we with mods one,
mhm,
and the ski it's a new season. One on flushing that when you drink that name beach 2 quarts, 8 cups. You're flushing that cycle. You're helping yourself.
mhm.
So everybody
one
actually,
city.
yeah.
8 cups in one city.
Michigan City open in the king, my uncles, Wida, weddings. Alfie, the other grandfather, Alfie, and then Dan. I think Paul King still does that. And boy,
Mhm.
Kina the model, Anishinaabemowin.
Kirk does it next.
Kirk, you know what it's doing? To get you,
Michelle probably. Eh, Mish?
Yeah, Dolly already got
Dolly.
some taps and trees.
Oh,
Dolly
okay.
started
Because
already.
Mary used to always in the back
Mhm.
over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little Mary.
They wash the oil kiwi,
Mhm.
don't all you, and you're the king.
Don't forget,
Happy birthday to
Paul, to mention Victoria
mhm.
and Natasha.
The work they
The
do.
great women that are putting
Yes.
it together. Yeah.
Mhm.
The work done, the moment the Malco Castillo, no, Victoria isn't causing, no, Natasha. Monday, it taken up here. Ostigen king. We is magiking on the king. Give thanks to these women, Victoria, Serta, and then Natasha. For the work that they do. I mean, there's a lot of work to when you do these things, and a lot of paperwork, a lot of studying that you got to do. And you got to look at this, check these out.
Commitment and time.
Mhm.
People need squad we want here, begin again. Again in this function, we couldn't buy me marble. We get Morgan, put this shit. Translate this for me. Oh, but that's pretty good. The we work together.
Oh, anniversary. That's a happy birthday.
Is there something you want to say?
What do you say?
Distraction.
What do you say year?
What?
What do you say year? Many moons.
Token.
Year.
Many moons.
Year, many moons.
Many moons ago.
It's here.
Because it's, you get the birthday every year, so it's an anniversary.
Okay.
I think that's it, just what you said, the Vishkan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Referring to
Vishkan.
What do you say to you? What do you say to you if you're gonna sing? Happy
King,
Kin.
King get Vishkan. No.
So if you're not the Bishkan,
Yeah.
Quinoa,
King,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
another year or something like
not the
that.
Bishkan.
The Vishkan, yeah, the Vishkan, Minoa. We
Not
were
the
doing,
Bishkan Quinoa.
yeah, it's like we're
Not
doing.
the Bishkan.
King
Because
Quishkan,
we're gonna
right?
sing happy birthday.
Oh.
Oh,
That's what I'm trying to figure out how you say happy birthday. Not the Bishkan Quinoa.
yeah, Vishkan,
Yeah, that's.
Anishinaabemowin.
Need. Rich is always singing.
Not the Bishkan.
Yeah, need the Vishkan, Mina.
Me know.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so we're gonna sing a song to Natasha, Victoria, to Bagida'waad Alliance in honor of their 4th anniversary. That's what we were just discussing here. How do we say that? Okay. Nadbishkan Ginwa, Nadbishkan Ginwa. Okay, here we go. Bejik nish swa. Nadbishkan Ginwa. Nadbishkan Ginwa. Nadbishkan Ginwa. Nadbishkan Ginwa. So it's our way of saying happy anniversary.
Big wet.
Oh, you're blushing, eh?
No, we'll say, what's recording? No.
I haven't seen Natasha blushing away there in the dark.
So happy 4th year as you go into your 5th.
Grudge.
Miss Minagi Estonia, you're gonna go week quarter one. Does anybody out there want to say something? Cyber world. Talk to me. You get it, man. Oh, go. No, okay.
Marie?
I'd just like to say something. Spring is here. That's spring is here, according to my daughter. She said she's seen a cub today, bear cub.
Yeah, I see her post that.
Yeah, it must have been born, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. It was just a little one. So she's very happy that she's seen this little cub. She's told me, Mom, spring is here. So that's good.
Right on.
Yeah. So this time of year as well, it's the renewal. We're moving into a new year. So this is the time of year that is the new year for us. January 1st is called New Year according to the calendar, but we call that Opta Bobon, which is like you're only halfway through the winter.
Yeah.
So for our culture, the transition from winter into spring is the new year for us. So for bundle carriers and ceremony people, it's that time of year that we look at renewing our bundles, renewing our lodges, whatever those sacred items are that we have. So we'll be getting ready soon in our own way to do those things to welcome that new year coming in. And miigwech to the West Sand to that little makos that has showed itself. Miigwech to the groundhog. But these are our stories, which is the kosak that come out that The story is when the mother tosses the babies out of the, I was gonna say the cradle, tosses the baby cubs out of the cave and they don't go back in. They feel safe and it's nice out there for them to wander. That's the spring.
Yeah.
So the baby bears are out. Show me which, yeah.
Abwangok mina. Que rasgo se me ao. You
Did he say something on the screen? Oh, it disappeared.
Ah, me ao kasga.
Somebody had commented on that?
Kan je maar zeggen dat nog steeds. Ja, maar Jignarjana kigos. Mas menos. Cool. Que vão de come on.
So is there any other questions? Is there anything else anybody would like to share before we wrap it up?
Elizabeth had a comment in the language. I don't know if Elizabeth would like to be able to say it or not, or if she's still here. Yeah, she is. Do you mind? I'll let her talk.
Bonjour, Elizabeth.
Bonjour.
Year, baboon. Yep. Option dochin and them go women okmek. Meanwhile, kig kabiawak. Misa P gi minokmek, P gi quasensian. Gishpin schoonwian, doing good we masayan chawasa.
Oh.
Yeah, minokmek, gayaba giksanam gadwa. Basha gidaka gita. What a miknong, showing ninatic gita. Gawi gego ngiazin we minikwayan, P nijayan, wadam skoongamgan, meanwhile skabian and dian. Ginokshka panagwa, P masayan, with a ninatic. Gi dapanan ojiga gun meanwhile auzubo bagan and gi anan basha with the tigons. The ojiga gun gi ton gijim tig p ngi skunwian p skabian and dian manda o auzuban gimoshkne. P option gi gaskana go epine. Gi dapnan auzubagan gi chimne kwa minagwin gi minwag megwa.
Somebody another hand up there.
Yeah, that was Elizabeth. There were a couple of questions also in there. Michelle was wondering how many gallons you said make 1 quart of maple syrup.
40.
40? Wow. And she also said she miigwechta all and she loves the laughter.
Well, depends how much sap that tree wants to give.
So miigwech, everybody. Wonderful visit again. It was nice to see everybody again. Well, thank you for welcoming us into your house and sharing these wonderful stories and welcoming all. I look forward to these visits every week. So anyway, we will carry on till next week, next Tuesday, 8 o'clock, same bat channel, same I don't know what the rest of the saying is. I'm sorry. It was there and it was gone. But anyway, happy International Women's Day, everybody, to all the women out there. And again, happy anniversary to us. If we can carry on another 60 years, I'm sure we'll do fine. So onward and upward up until next Tuesday, Chi Miigwech and Ramapi.